All right, now we get to the latest on a lawsuit that Westchester County has been dealing with for years right now and getting all kinds of national attention and not the kind of press you really want. I want to bring Andrew back in because you spoke to a person who very possibly here could inherit this issue in the not too distant future.
But first, just for the sake of our viewers, a little bit of review of what we're talking about, this discrimination suit. It began with claims the county didn't do enough to prevent unintentional discrimination in its residential housing. A civil rights group, HUD, and a federal judge all agreed that in 2009, in the previous years, the Westchester had not made sure its housing policies were non-discriminatory. That was a requirement for the federal funding it received. County agreed, and the result, very few low-income and minority homes in most of the county's smaller municipalities. The remedy, as issued by the court, spend some money, build some units, market them to low-income and minorities, and also remove the obstacles that led that discrimination to happen in the first place. County signed a deal to do all that months before this man, Republican Rob Astorino, was elected county executive. Since then, Astorino's complained about the ruling, calling it social engineering, attacking the Obama administration. He's also, according to both the judge and the monitor who are overseeing the process, vetoed and delayed actions that HUD says would remove those obstacles to fair housing. In response, HUD had threatened to block $7 million in funding and hold the county in contempt. This week, Astorino submitted a bill he had earlier vetoed that could stop that contempt process. He also wants to take legal action against HUD to keep that $7 million flowing, a move that was backed up this week by the county legislator. Now, earlier today, I spoke with the newly selected Democratic nominee seeking to unseat County Executive Astorino this fall, the mayor of New Rochelle, New York, Noam Branson. Mayor Branson, first of all, congratulations on your selection as the Democratic nominee last night for county executive.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It was gratifying to receive support from so many Democrats, but I know that the main event is still ahead and lots of work in front of us.
I want to get into the biggest issue in the county right now, and that is the housing discrimination lawsuit and the county's response to it. It's been 4+ years now since that deal was announced. I assume you agree with a lot of Westchester residents that the unresolved issues here make the county look bad, correct?
Absolutely. Look, whether we agree with the settlement or disagree with the settlement, I think all of us recognize that we've got to get this behind us. And the strategy that County Executive Astorino has undertaken in recent years has been self-evidently a disaster. We're losing court case after court case. Just a couple of days ago, we learned that the U.S. Attorney may be holding the county executive in contempt. We have the federal government holding up millions of dollars in funds that are urgently needed by localities and by not-for-profits. So this kind of a pattern of defiance and obstruction may play well in certain quarters when it comes to a political context, but it is deeply damaging to our community.
County Executive Astorino, when he was still candidate Astorino in the RFL RNN debate, which was held in this building, pledged to abide by the settlement and the decision through HUD and through the courts. The courts continually reinforcing that he hasn't. Can you pledge that under your leadership, if elected county executive, that the county will abide by those decisions and, also not have to spend any more money on legal fees trying to counter?
I believe in the rule of law, and we all have an obligation, especially those of us in public office, to observe the law and honor the decisions of the courts. So that's not really a difficult question to answer. We've got to do it. And what concerns me, and I listened to the county executive's State of the County address a couple of days ago, is he is now entirely mischaracterizing the nature of the responsibilities that the county has to discharge. He talked about 11,000 units of housing, spending $1 billion, a 200% tax increase, getting rid of all zoning codes, dropping a high-rise onto every block. All of that is completely made up. It bears no resemblance whatsoever to the actual terms of the settlement or the actual terms that the federal government is requiring of the county. And I think this is a process of engaging in scare tactics and deception so that people will not understand that, in fact, our responsibilities are far less onerous, far less difficult to resolve than that. So I don't think we need the county executive to promise to protect us from an imaginary make-believe threat.
Mr. Astorino has repeatedly referred to this settlement and the specifics within it as social engineering. Do you agree?
I don't think that kind of language is constructive. Look, let me tell you where I'm coming from generally. I think that diversity and affordability strengthen communities. In New Rochelle, I have a record of constructing affordable housing in a way that's non-controversial and that has been accepted in the neighborhoods where housing has been built. And we should recognize that affordable housing is housing for cops and firefighters and civil servants and teachers. And if it is well planned, can really strengthen the economy and the fabric of the communities in which it's located.
Is the county better off now than it was 4 years ago? And if so, why is it time for a change in the county executive's office?
I'll say this. I think everyone has to judge their own circumstances for themselves. But the quality of the county's actions, the quality of the county's policymaking, quality of our planning for the future is far worse than it was 4 years ago. A whole raft of county responsibilities are being neglected. And the most important of those, I'd say, is planning for the future of our economy and our environment.
Mayor Noam Branson, the Democratic mayor of New Rochelle and the Democratic nominee for Westchester County Executive. Thanks very much.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.
That's just a portion of my conversation with Mayor Branson. You can watch the entire interview on the RFL YouTube page or via our Facebook page. Rich?
All right, Andrew, thank you. We're now joined by O'Brien Murray, Republican political consultant, who's managed the campaign of former Congressman Rob Turner, named GOP Campaign Manager of the Year, also managed Simca Felder's race for the state Senate as well. And you got banged by traffic tonight, didn't you?
Obama must have been in town.
Yeah, exactly. Not this time. He was in Dallas. You can't blame him for this one. Westchester race really interesting because I speak. We got some very good friends who were involved with both the campaign and also who work for Rob Astorino. But in Republican circles statewide, it seems that a lot of people think Astorino's got a big future ahead of him. That said, there's more registered Democrats by a wide margin in this county than there are Republicans. How would you assess the race right now that we know who the Democrat's going to be?
Well, first off, Rob won 4 years ago.
Against a candidate who had worn out his welcome.
Well, but it was an incumbent that therefore had the money advantage tremendously. I forget the total dollars spent compared to what Rob spent. Rob was running out of money. Rob has had 4 years to make an impression across the county. Rob also goes out into every community. He takes no community for granted. He goes out to the black churches. He goes out into Mount Vernon, places where Republicans never went before, and he goes and shakes the hands of the voters and looks them in the eye and says, what is it that's important to your community? What are your needs and wants? And he does what he can in every community. It's no longer this, okay, here's us, here's them, let's fight over some in the middle. He leaves no ground.
Are Republicans confident he's going to win in November?
Rob's going to do great. He's going to run a great campaign. He's going to. I think he's going to win. I see no hesitancy in that. Everyone believes he's not just an up and comer in the state party, but more importantly, all politics is local, and he is strong here in Westchester. I've not seen any polls that say he's not.
Just watch this suit, because this suit is really the chink in his armor. The fact that it hasn't been resolved and that he seems to have been combative with the federal government and.
Don't you think, though, Andrew, that I know we're going to go breakers, but don't you think that Branson, now that we know who's the nominee, has to figure out a way to articulate it a little easier, more digestible for the general public, the lawsuit?
I think he's got to do that. He's also got to explain to people why Westchester's not better off now than it was 4 years ago, which I think arguably it might be.
But Rob has also lowered taxes, and taxes in New Rochelle have gone up nearly 40% since he's been mayor at this point. So when you're talking about defending that kind of record, he's got to raise the money. Rob's already been ahead of him raising money for the past 4 years. And I believe this HUD issue is actually one where the county executive, Rob Astorino, has shown leadership. You may not love it when he goes and bangs heads with the Feds sometimes, but he inherited an agreement, and the Feds try to change the agreement that was inherited.
Well, there's the rub.
That's the real question.
Astorino says they tried to change it. The Feds and certainly even members of the legislature say the agreement was the agreement, you just chose not to abide by it. And that'll be, I think, the question that will get answered in these debates.
Leadership wins.
All right, we will see, and we will also be right back after this break. Stay with us.